Each of these has a story. They were all condemned. We found him in a kill pen, and he'd been out there for 9 months. He escaped the people. Some of these kill pens are 250 acres. And he came in on a day like this for us, where we were able to get him in. Josh was found in a pen. He was going off to kill. Elias was waiting for the transit to show up. And Prince, our first rescue, they were loading the horses, and I saw him. He was a little baby. He stuck his head under me, stayed with me, and I paid the money, and we took him off the land just before he used to go off. So each of these, we have another one at home we just got that was, we can't tell the public how badly they're treated. But this, he had no skin or fur. He just had raw skin. It was a mess. Josh was shaking and couldn't walk. He was going off literally onto the kill van.
Oh my God.
And this one here had problem with an eye. He couldn't walk, and he, what they called stock up, he bloated out, so he couldn't move. And now they're all recovered. 2 years ago, he was 150 pounds underweight. We have a picture of him on the web. He was all black and blue.
Oh
Now he's a little pudgy. Looks like he's about to have a baby of his own. And see how he gets? He is so food focused. He will. It takes 5 years to get him through the process. He's just completing his second. He'll complete his second year in August. He's already ready to go to parades. He's in the trailer with the team. He comes, and if you're whistling out in the field, he'll. Oh, these two are fighting for a head of the herd.
How do you know all the horses?
Well, we take care of each one every day. When we get their papers, by law they have to have an inspection paper. So, and we keep a paper on each of them. They get all the regular medical shots. They get a dentist. They get the Coggins, which is required by law. They have shoeing every 8 weeks by not a regular horseshoe or farrier, but by a specialist who does corrective trade, because they each have problems. And he's called Bigfoot because his feet are oversized. They are all Arabs, and Arabs are what Washington ordered us to have. So the 2nd Dragoons have all Bay Arabs, 14 to 15 hands, and Caesar is about, the one on the end is the same size as Magnolia, maybe just a little smaller, that Washington had in the war, and then at the end of the war he sold it to General Lee, Allied Horse Harry Lee, whose son would become General Lee of the Confederacy, for 5,000 acres. And Lee turned around and made the horse a racehorse, and Washington was upset because the horse beat his. So we hear all these things, you never hear it. It's not in the regular history books. You have to read the diaries, and that's where the good stuff is.
Okay, so where do you keep the horses?
They are kept in Colchester at a farm. We pay for private boarding, and we built a runway between the private boarding farm and our farm, where they get natural grass, natural grazing environment, and a couple times people, unfortunately, we've had vandals, tried to open the gates, and we expect the horses to run out. So now they're used to all the good stuff, and the only thing they'll do is if you come out in the field, you can walk among them, where when they first come in, you can't get near them. Well, some people are very nasty to their animals.
Oh, thank God for you guys.
They stay the rest of their life with us. When we do a program like this, half the money the regiment puts into them for care and maintenance. We have people like Rick who volunteer to take care of them. Rick is working with our newest one, Anthony. And Anthony was so bad that he would bend himself down underneath like a dog that was beat. Got him on a trailer a couple of weeks ago for the first time, and he was shaking, and we gave him a big kiss and a hug, and he straightened up, and he walked off the trailer, and he realized he wasn't going to be beaten anymore. And we hope to turn him back into education, an educational horse with these guys in the very near future. We hope that we'll have him out later this year.
Okay, what is your organization?
We're the 2nd Continental Dragoons. We're the 1st Commissioned Cavalry of the United States, and us, along with the Horse Guards, represents the oldest cavalry tradition in the Western Hemisphere. We do educational programs. We don't solicit. Everything is word of mouth, and this is our 35th year back as reestablishment, servicing the military and the governor of Connecticut.
That's great. How many horses have you rescued?
We have 5 right now because of the economy. We can't afford more. The Horse Guards are back to 10, but we all are feeling the same thing. We have to privately take care of them. It's very expensive. It comes out of all of our pockets. This is because everybody works together to save the horse, and the horse learns this, and then he helps us by educating the public. If the weather was better, they would be out. We will not abuse the horses by putting them out in the rain. So they touch a chill just like a child. Arab has the attention and intelligence level of a 2 to 3 year old child. They can learn 300 to 500 words in any language.
Really?
They understand conversation, Prince, who is my boy, who I raised since he was a baby, Prince, I can put a recruit on him, and I can stand on the ground and yell the orders, and Prince will do the orders, and the recruit thinks he's like, wow, I'm a great rider. Knows what to do and when to do it.
Wow, that's great.
All these boys are good boys like that. Huh, Prince?
Can you come over and tell me who they are?
Sure. All right. We'll start at this end. This is...
Are we going up?
Yeah, we'll start from the big one. This is Caesar. Hi, Caesar. Hi, Josh.
And Caesar is the one you rescued that
had no fur.
Oh. And how long have you had him?
4.5 years. 5 years now. 5 years. 6. I'm sorry, 6 years.
So he's a happy horse now.
He's happy. Hi, Caesar. You happy boy? He's our big boy.
How long was he being abused for?
He was out there in the field abandoned for 9 months.
Oh.
When we got his paperwork, we read it up. And we were able to make a trade for a horse that was donated to us that was a quarter horse that we couldn't use. And they thought they got the best deal of their life because it's just what they wanted. And Caesar has been wonderful.
Yeah.
He's
what, 26?
Oh,
really?
Yep.
Looks like
Josh
a baby.
is our oldest boy. He's 30.
Oh, really?
Josh was very sick, and he's owned by Peter Travers, and he comes out with us. And when Peter is well, then Peter rides him. Josh is the manager. And the other horses there, he'll snout them and take their food because he's got to be in charge. And this is one of our newest ones. This is Elias. Elias is 11 years old. He was going off for slaughter. He was so sick he couldn't stand upright. He was swollen out, and we got him. And they got rid of him because he had big feet and he has a problem with his cornea on his right eye.
Really?
So they were going to kill him. One of these was a condemned horse.
Oh.
None of these were normal horses. So Elias joined us. Huh? You want to say hello? Say hello. Look in the camera. Elias is out on our web, and you can see what he looked like before. He was 150 pounds underweight. He was all black and blue.
Oh, dear.
Well, they mishandled him at the end because they're going to kill him. He got on when he saw the trailer, he got right on the trailer.
Oh,
and the one here, who's now sleepy, Elias is 11, Prince here is 28. He was used in the movie with Johnny Depp.
Really?
And several other films. Prince is our education horse. Not Prince. You want to smile? Here.
I just want to eat.
Come on, put your head up. Come over here. Now, Prince is what they call the classic era. He is the right size, shape, and color. He's Saudi, huh?
Oh, hello.
He was in an insurance scam where they tried to poison him in the stall. He was being sent off for slaughter. And now he's my special boy. My special boy.
Oh.
Special. Yeah. That's my baby. He is 28.
Oh, my.
Not in the trailer, because right now he's bored to death. He will run like the wind. And
Really?
he is. When he gets up into the gallop, it's like flying.
Oh,
He is
wow.
a very smart boy. Our riders have to qualify. If these guys weren't good, they would not be permitted on the horses, because they are rescue horses, and they remember bad treatment in a heartbeat. We were here 1777 when we formed. Then we were here again in 1780 for the winter. Then again in 1781 with Washington. We were private personal guard. Amy can tell you more.
Yeah?
And in 1783, the men from Wethersfield were brought back into town and then dismissed from here. In fact, Wethersfield was very good to us because they also had a bootmaker. In fact, he was so good that Washington had custom boots made here in this town while he was here for his own use. And the only two places he got all of his horses for during the war, because he had more than one horse. Wartime will wear down a horse. He had his parade horse and then he had a battle horse. His battle horses, for the most part, came from Connecticut. And his good horse, who was blue skin, was the horse that is the white horse you see. That is the diplomatic horse, just like the French officers carry. And his bay, which we were ordered to match, that's what these all are, was his battle horse. So that when he went into battle, he was a general who looked magnificent, a retinue of guards. And the French were very happy because, so we got the brass helmets, the French-style coats. We were all equipped here in Connecticut. As I said, we stayed here out of the war. 5 of the 7 years of the war that we were in commission, we were in Wethersfield regularly.
Really?
So we have been attached to this town, men and troopers, officers and troopers, since the period of the American Revolution. And before 77, the light horse of Colonel Sheldon's regiment that became the 2nd Dragoons were in this town, and Levi Robbins is one of the first graves here at the church. And we used to do a service every year, but this year it's a little wet. And Levi Robbins was in the troop. In fact, he has that on as his epitaph on the stone. That's how we know more about our history, that most of the towns in Connecticut, we're finding more and more where the men have that on their epitaph. They were considered the elite of Washington's army even by the French, who claimed that they were tested to be the best on the continent. Now this is from an ally who looked down on these farmer soldiers. And in this case, well, they supplied us, they trained us, so yeah, I guess we were. And they were. In fact, they state that we don't fear the British, which is a very hard statement to make.
Yeah.
And today we all serve in the same roles.
So do you think you'll be coming back any other time this year?
I think we're maybe doing a fall program, but the Historical Society has to decide that. It's the third week of October.
Okay.
We will be all over Connecticut for the first time in I don't know how many years, because generally we're out of state.
Okay.
This year we'll be at Fort Trumbull, we'll be at Lebanon, at the Governor Trumbull House, we'll be at the Denison House in Mystic, Seaport. All those will be coming up in June. Our schedule is on the web.
Great.
Rick also does our website, so he'll have that.
Good.
And it's kind of great for us this year because we get to spend some time in Connecticut.
Yeah, that's great. And if people want to donate, they can
see right on the web. There's a page with a story about all the horses. It says to donate.
Good.
The website,
Right, and the website is dragoons.info.
Dragoons.
DRAGOONS.info. INFO.
Okay.
We're on the website that Rick maintains. We're 501c3. Not
That's
5
great.
or
And
4, right.
because I know Wethersfield people would love to support the horses, and they love to hear that the horses have been rescued by your organization.
The 4th of July parade. Get a sponsor for us.
That's great.
The horses live pretty close by in Glastonbury.
Colchester. That's great.
We go to parades if we have sponsorship, because that's how we take care of the horses. So if somebody wanted us, like in the 4th of July parade, or the Labor Day parade, or the Veterans Parade, if they contact us, we'll come, as long as they have a sponsor.
Okay.
We have to take care of the kids.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Pretty simple.
Thank you.
Right now, Sheldon's horse will be marching down to the site of the Stillman Tavern, right just north of Heartseeds. And that is where Rochambeau and his entourage stayed when they were here conferring with Washington. And they will be holding a libation ceremony, which is sort of a memorial service that was done in the 18th century. So that will be going on. And then we'll be firing the cannon. And the Dragoons will be firing their muskets, doing some drilling. So even though it's wet and rainy, we're still having some fun here at the Keeney Center. This is my riding habit. It is made to match my husband's regimental coat. My husband was an artillery officer. The fashion at the time for ladies to have their riding habits made to match their husband's coats. We know that Kitty Green, she had a military costume that she wore when she went visiting, when she went out traveling. So it's not just for riding, it's for traveling as well. And it's really good. It's wool, and that's great on a rainy day like this.
Put it down the barrel to remove any remains of the old cartridge. Now he's sponging, which puts out any embers. I'm not going to fire again because I didn't bring any more rounds out with me.
Good.
And then the procedure would be load. The powder box would be back there. He'd come up, pan him around. He'd put it in the muzzle. Then the next command would be ram the cartridge down to the breech. And then pick and prime. You'd use this artillery pick, put it in the vent, and punch a hole in the cartridge so that the quill can make contact with the powder. You only brought out 2 rounds. You already fired. And make ready and fire.
So I'm sorry, did you light it then?
Right, you use the slow match. It's a rope soaked in nitrate. It burns very slowly, and that's how you ignite it. The current quills are like a straw with a correction tape with black powder on it. And the original ones, they would have used goose quills that were hollowed out and then black powder poured into them, and that's how they were set.
Yeah, okay.
I'm assisting Dowdy's Artillery, who owns the gun. I normally work with United Train of Artillery of Rhode Island.
So they have particular people in the war that just man the cannons.
Right. What would happen is, as they moved from battlefield to battlefield, they would hire local farmers with their oxen and horses. They would tow them so far, and then the men would put on harnesses called montauk and hooks on the outside of the axle. One man would stand back there. You'd have two guys pulling the gun across the field to go into action.
How long have you been doing this?
Since I retired from the active duty Army in 1988. My wife decided, you need a hobby. This is the shot that it would fire. It's called a 3-pound shot. This one is made of lead, but normally they would be made from steel. And that's what they shoot.
Get out.
This would be attached to what they call a wooden sabot, a disc of wood, and then the flannel bag with the black powder in it would be attached to this. That's how they would fire them in the olden days. The gun would actually fire two different types of things: the solid shot, which this is, and then canister round, which is a tin can with 148 lead ball in it, and which basically turns this gun into a large shotgun.
Yeah.
That would be shot at anything under 400 yards, you'd fire that. Anything over 400 yards, you'd fire the solid shot at them. And you would normally aim 25 yards in front of advancing troops. You could ricochet it into them.
Really? So, do you have a hard time getting these materials now?
No.
No, you can still get the shots and...
Yeah, well, we make our own shots.
Oh, you do?
Go to a machine shop and have them cut the ball the right size and then cast our own. The black powder we pick up from a fireworks dealer in New York and bring it in. We can only have so much by state law and so forth, and we keep the maximum amount that we can have.
Okay.
First thing we do is worm.
What's that called?
A worm.
Okay.
This goes down and removes all the burning embers, that sort of thing. Then we cool the chamber with what they call a sponge. Then the round would be advanced. This is what we shoot now. This has the black powder in it with a made into a tin foil cup. You've got to prick it first.
Now what is that doing?
Pierces a hole in the cartridge. So that when I insert the quill, it reaches the powder in the cartridge.
That was loud, huh?
Holy cow.
I'm a surgeon and I travel with the unit. The unit that's here is Sheldon's horse, which is a unit which existed during the Revolutionary War. They would have had about 300 soldiers at one time, and for those 300 soldiers they had a surgeon and a surgeon's mate. to travel with them, taking care of the day-to-day health needs of the soldiers, as well as battle wounds. So what you see here is representative of what they would have had. Medicines normally came from an apothecary, which is what we call a pharmacist nowadays. They should have gotten their medicines through the Army. The Continental Army supplied medicines, but like everything, you were always in short supply. So if I was out traveling with the Army, out in the countryside, didn't have access to a town which had an apothecary, I'd have to make my own medicine. So I'd have a book, like this would tell me how to make pills, gargles, and any other medicines. It would tell me what ingredients I need, how much of each ingredients, what do I do? Do I mash it up? Do I heat it? And then if it would say pills, how many pills I would get. So here I just have a simple balance where I'd measure out my ingredients, and then I would grind them up with the mortar and pestle. If I was making, say, a pill, I'd need something to hold everything together, and this is just wax. I warm it up in my hands probably. On a warm day it gets very soft, and just mix it together with the ingredients to hold everything together. And then I would, if I was making pills, I'd roll it out onto here. So it'd be almost like a clay consistency. I would roll it out and make cuts. I'd know how far to roll it because the instructors tell me how many pills I'm going to get. If I was giving you, say, a medicine such as a dry powder, I'd use honey. It's what they call an electrolyte, basically honey and a dry ingredient to just makes it easier for you to swallow. These are just some of the other some of the other ingredients. This is actually turpentine.
Really?
I actually found instructions for mixing turpentine and deer dung. Give it to someone who had consumption. I doubt that worked, but consumption was their word for TB, tuberculosis.
So wouldn't that kill somebody?
I don't know. It's one of those, if you took too much of it. Here's some hot peppers.
Okay.
I want to make you sweat. This is flax seed. They would grind that up and heat it, make almost like a paste of it, and then give it to someone if they had muscular aches and pains. They would just put it on and cover it with, say, with flannel. This is vinegar, and often they would use symbols because not everyone could read. So depending on what the compound was, they had a whole series of symbols that they would use.
Oh, wow.
Both for the compounds, and here's the vinegar, sugar. You can see mercury. Mercury's toxic compound. At least we know that nowadays, but they didn't know that back then. And these are some of the other symbols for different amounts. A pint, an ounce. You may recognize this. To take RX, which is the symbol we use for the prescription.
So sometimes they couldn't read, but they were trained in medicine, though.
Well, no, they'd be more like an assistant. In other words, if I was an apothecary and I had someone who was just helping me out,
I see.
Here, go get this compound or whatever.
I see.
The olive oil would have been used. They would mix it with wax to make an ointment for burns. This is laudanum, which is a painkiller. It's a combination of opium and wine.
Really?
It's very, very addictive, plus expensive also, so you use it sparingly.
Do they still use that?
No.
No. I thought I heard of it.
No. Well, I mean, that was sort of replaced by morphine and codeine, and now there's various forms of codeine used as painkillers, I guess. Back then, during the 18th century, one of the common things, or what they believed, medicine was based on the balancing of the humors, their terms for the bodily fluids. So if something was wrong with you, what they would do would be either take something out of you, and the most common was bleeding, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but they would give you something to make you go to the bathroom. They might make you sweat, I mentioned the peppers, or something to make you throw up. Bleeding was one of the more common ones. They would, depending on what was wrong with you, they would have a chart, this picture and a chart that would tell them where to take the blood from and how much, depending on what was wrong with you. They used to think there was twice as much blood as we actually have. Plus, they didn't realize it circulated throughout the body. So that's why they would take it at different points in the body. So what they would do is they would just make an incision with something like this, which is a lancet. It's called a fling, another type of cutting instrument. There's also different types of scalpels. But anyway, they would make a cut, drain, a certain amount of blood out, and then they would, after they were all done, they would sew you up with a little needle and thread. They also used the leeches. for taking blood out.
Is that a real leech?
No.
I can't see.
Everyone asks that.
Huh?
Everyone asks that. I said, as far as pain, I mentioned the Laden. They might just give you leather on a stick to bite on. You may have heard the expression "bite the bullet."
Yeah.
This is actually a replica of a musket ball that was found on a battlefield with tooth marks in it.
Oh.
An actual musket ball would be made of lead and soft, and so people would bite.
Did you see that?
Did you see?
What's the most common war injury?
I'm not sure what the most common is. I mean, the musket ball was fired, so people would get hit by that, and they have to remove it, or they might have to do an amputation. It could shatter the bone, plus we worry about gangrene spreading.
So more bullets than knife or bayonet?
Yeah, I don't know the number of that, but actually, as far as people dying, for every person that died of a battle wound, probably about 9 died of disease, because they really had no concept of how germs were spread or infection. I mean, they knew what an infection was, but they didn't know how to prevent it. So you've got a lot of people that don't know much about hygiene, living in close quarters. Something like dysentery, like at your camp or being a part of your camp. A big killer back then was smallpox, and we were just starting to learn about what we call vaccination. They called it variolation. Smallpox, if you get smallpox and you're fortunate enough to live, you won't get it again. You build up an immunity. So they would actually take someone who had smallpox, and you have a series of blisters over your body. They would cut the blister open, take some of the fluid out of it, and then they would take someone who never had smallpox and make maybe a small incision in their back, and then just put this in. So that would give them hopefully a mild case of smallpox, and then after they've had it, they wouldn't get it again.
Oh.
So they were concerned that, in other words, here you've got your camp. If someone gets smallpox, it's going to wipe out most of the soldiers there. It was still controversial because if you didn't do it at the right time, you might give someone a full-blown case of smallpox to die, or you did too late, it wouldn't have any effect. And you're still giving them smallpox, so they're still laid up. So now if you do it to half your camp is laid up, and you don't want your enemy to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what happened? You asked about the musket ball. So if they got hit somewhere in the body cavity that you could take it out, you would first try to find it, and then they'd use their finger. I said they didn't know anything about infection, so they try to find it with their finger. If they couldn't find it with their finger, they would use a probe like this to try to find the musket ball. And then once they did find it, they would take it out with these forceps. And then if they got hit in, say, in a leg or an arm, and it shattered the bone, there was really nothing they could do to repair that. How to do that. The other thing is if they got gangrene, which is an infection that spreads throughout the body. The only way they could really treat that was to just cut off the wrist. So they did that with tools there, just to cut the skin and muscle.
No anesthesia, right?
No. They did it as soon as they can because they had more people waiting, and they bandaged up the person and sent them back to their tent. With dental work, if you want to call it that. Back then, they really didn't do too much in the way of preventative dentistry, visiting the dentist and brushing and flossing. And as a result, their teeth weren't too good. Now, this is let's see, special weapons over in the corner there, carbines, which uses musket ball. This is a sample that they have cartridges. For instance, you see the gentleman over there, the black box will be filled with those cartridges.
Oh.
So the way they would open this up is with their teeth. And so if you didn't have a full set of teeth, or enough teeth in your mouth, these two upper and lower at the same point, you couldn't become a soldier. So I started to talk about tooth removal. This is what's called the tooth key. And you just lay this on the tooth. This is the tooth with the cavity, and just twist it, and it pulls the tooth out.
Oh dear.
Take the tooth out. And if it didn't all come out, I'd go back in with this, which is called a ghost bit extraction. That's called a routine. And what that's for is if someone had a concussion, or they got hit in the head with the back of a musket, or maybe it could have been working on the farm and they fell out of the hayloft and hit their head or something. What happens is the because of the blood that's let loose inside the brain, you build up the pressure. And if you don't do something to relieve the pressure, the person will die. So what they do is what was called trypanic. So they take where the person was hit, they cut the skin with the scalpel. They have probably a pair of these retractors, they call them. They just hold the skin open, and then they would take a piece of skull out. Now the skull is like the fingernails. There's no feeling in there. So they would sort of drill. I sort of drill that piece out, and take that out, and then cut the membrane above the brain to relieve the pressure.
Do they put it back in when they're done? Does it grow back? Or
no, the bone actually grows back.
Okay, so you don't need to put the piece back in?
No, and actually they want to leave it open for a while because to relieve any residual pressure. Probably passed out partway through. They did find, or they have found, like skulls in Egypt and, from earlier civilizations in Mexico where they had that operation done. And the people lived because the skull grew back. Now, what shape they were in after, why they did it, I mean, they may have done it to release the devils from the mind or something.
Right.
For the same reason, I don't know. If someone couldn't take medicines orally, we wanted to give them rectally, we use this, or we wanted to give them an analog. It's called a twister.
Ooh.
It's called the twisters.
Twister.
Twister.
Okay.
That too, you call it
I don't
that.
hear too well, but okay, great.
Let's see what else. Most of the people that became doctors and surgeons back then did not go to school. There was only 2 schools in this country, one in Philadelphia, one in New York. There were schools in Europe, but they're fairly expensive because you had to pay for passage there and back on the ship. And, pay for the school, pay for room and board while you're over there. So most of them just learned by apprenticing, about 90%. Alongside of another doctor for 5, 6, 7 years, and when that doctor felt you were qualified, he would just write you a letter.
We just went to Gettysburg a couple of weeks ago, to the museum there. Is there really any change much in terms of medicine from Revolution?
No, because I've seen Civil War surgeons. As a matter of fact, the guy came through here a little while ago. It just doesn't change much.
No, like, difference in germ theory or anything like that?
No, it wasn't until late 19th century that they started doing that.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want to be a doctor? No. In the military? Oh, nice. Are you here to see the doctor?
No, actually I'm not. Is the vet in? Where's the vet?
And what's your name, sir? You look like you're a general?
Major.
Major? Is that bigger than a general?
Not
Yes?
quite.
No?
Just ask any major.
And what's your name, sir?
Private Creed.
Private Creed. I like your outfit.
Yeah. Hunting frog.
What was it?
It's a hunting frog.
Oh, thank you.
Very uncomfortable cotton.
Major General Sheldon,
Oh,
second in command of Rochambeau,
okay.
and translator during the conferences with General Washington.
I see. You busy today?
Very much so.
Is the General Washington here?
No.
No. And these are all your men?
No, these are the Americans.
Oh.
I represent Louis XVI of France.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
It's the prison that it covers. But back then they're called hammer stalls, and that is in the manual of arms. Flash guards were added because you could tell a veteran, according to them, by the scarring in his cheek. Because if you're in the lines like this, the left cheek of the next man would catch it. And when we did the testing at Aberdeen for this, with the old guard, we found that, one, you had to be nuts to stand in front of that line that's 25 yards. The width of that street, if you fought like they did then from here to where the fire hydrant is, and you fired that musket, it shears 1-inch marine line each, but they made PT boats out in half, like a saw. But the flame on this, because I was a federal black powder officer, is 20 feet. So what would happen is that would
Yeah.
That would, at 20 feet today, that's why we have the safety, we're going to have a fire off the portico here. At 20 feet, it'll burn through a standard cotton sheet. So that has a little more resilience than your skin. So back then, without that, we actually did a test. It flies out about that far. So if the guys are standing in the infantry shoulder to shoulder, they've got 18 to 20 inches, depending on our height and girth, between each other. So when they fired, you fried the guy's face. These will be the parting shots of the day. The other camp.
What did you do down the street?
We did the service with the Shasta, Count Shasta, who was here. He was the go-between Rochambeau and Washington, the translator. He had an escort of dragoons, as Washington did, and we did the ceremony where the tavern was, where Chastellux and Rochambeau stayed. And we provided a wreath this year. We did the libation service. We're the unit that does the military libations for the armed forces for the fallen and the dead. And we did the service down there. We marched down. We had the SAR march with us. We did the service. The wreath was put in place, and then we marched back.
Oh, very nice.
And now we're getting ready to do that were the parting shots of the day.
Great.
We're going to get ready to do the firing. And
That'll be it.
Yep.
Go ahead.
He is wearing the warrants of 1773 for French officers. He's wearing the standardized cloak that was used during the Revolution, the American Revolution. The coat he is wearing is the field service coat from that period, as the Count the Cheval de Chastellux. Those French words are long, but he is wearing an exact duplicate of an original in France, made for a major general with the wide gold braid instead of the thin gold braid that lower officers had.
Okay.
The famous painting of the surrender at Yorktown, where Washington and Rochambeau are in front of the tent making out the final battle plans. When you do the close-up that we were able to get from the Society of Cincinnati, Rochambeau is wearing the same coat. Down to the boots and the guards. He's wearing the high-top boots with the guards of the period, because when they ride, they wear this type of boot. When they walk, after they've been at quarters on campaign, they wear the gentleman's boot, which today we call a fox hunting or a jockey boot.
Okay.
He is wearing the officer grade red uniform with matching gold, and then of course he has the cape. He has on top of the cape a solid silver planchette. Turn around and would you show that? The planchette holds the cloak together. That is an antique one that we were able to secure for him from England. Which were importers, so to speak, after each war of French silver. It seems that when you're places, you pick up stuff. So this is exacting all the way down to the gold cane with the ebony body.
Wow. Very nice. And you had to have this all made, huh?
Yes.
Wow, and that was pretty expensive, I bet.
Very much.
Yes.
Well worth it.
Yeah.
For history's sake.
Yes.
Ready? Take aim. Fire. Prime and load. Make ready. Take aim. Fire. Ready? Take aim. Television. Fire. Ceasefire. Secure arms.
Hold it together.
Tap out.
Tap up.
Hands.
Somebody had to get up. Okay. Good.
Close hands. Shoulder arms.
Weight together. All
Slow.
together.
Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Not in a race.
Okay. When they're done having secure their cartridges.
Yep.
All right. Very good.
Gentlemen, disperse.
Welcome to the Wethersfield start site.
Grab our papers.
There's a touch hole right here. When you pull open the cartridge, you want to prime the pan by putting a little powder in here. Try to get it near the touch hole here, because that's pretty important. And we close off the pan like this. Then, as part of the loading process, we do a cast about maneuver like this. I take the remainder and I put the remainder down the muzzle here. And then to signify that we're ready, we come to the shoulder. You may see some of us tapping a little bit to make sure that the powder is set. Because the powder in here and the powder inside there has to. Now the whole secret to this thing is this is a flint. And this is flint and steel, which people were using back in far back as the Middle Ages to start fires with. It sparks. The technology is kind of primitive by modern standards, but the objective is that this once you pull the trigger, it will swing forward. The flint will ignite this piece of hardened steel, create a spark. The spark will light this off, set off the powder in the chamber, and your musket ball will come out here. Now we don't shoot actual live ammunition. Now if you're using a standard cartridge, what you do is you saw us tearing open the cartridges.
Yeah.
We poured just a little bit of the powder in here.
Yeah.
See this, because what happens? You need some powder in here for when the flint and steel makes a spark. That's got to ignite the powder in here.
Okay.
Now, what you do when you're using a period cartridge that already has the musket ball in it, you simply put the entire cartridge. Then what you would do, take said ramrod. You'd ram your charge down. Turn your ramrod. And then now this is a sort of a semi-modern safety device we have here called a frizz install. This is a safety thing so that we don't accidentally end up setting off firing off a gun, even if there's nothing inside. So this is required safety equipment.
Okay.
And this piece here is another modern innovation called a flash guard. Basically, in order to participate in reenactments, a new weapon has to have both of these. This is mandatory safety equipment. This has been mandatory since back in, I believe, sometime back in the 1970s.
Okay.
One practice that the guys back in the 70s used to use, that we no longer do, is they would actually put their paper cartridges down the thing there, but that's not safe. This is back in the 70s. That was back a long time before I ever started it. And something I heard from some of the old timers.
Yeah.
And it's a wonder more people didn't get hurt, because even a piece of paper with that kind of force behind it can be considered a wicked projectile.
Yeah.
And can actually hurt. We clamped down on that back in '77, I believe it was.
Okay.
We come out here every year to do this particular event. We do other events during the season. Last season, we went to Saratoga, New York, to was part of the Battle of Saratoga. The beginning of the year, we went to Morristown, New Jersey, in observance of basically the opening of the camps after the winter. It's basically your first encampment. The militia has to come out and basically polish off all the guns, start drilling again, because you can't really do that much of that during the winter time. And we were in Dayton, Mass, at a skirmish. We do the occasional skirmish. The difference between our group and a lot of the other groups is, although we attend reenactments, we are not per se reenactors. Our group, Sheldon's Horse, we are the actual Sheldon's Horse. In 1978, we reactivated the unit. We were able to do this because back at the end of the war, there was a clerical error. The unit was never. The unit, although people were mustered out of the unit itself was never closed down.
This is an actual unit.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are the continuation.
Great.
We were reconstituted back in 1978, I believe. The ceremony in Durham, Connecticut. That was again. That was before I joined up.
I'm actually a heritage member, and I am a corporal.
Corporal. Okay.
My ancestor was Colonel Commandant Elisha Sheldon, the commander of this unit. He got his orders directly from George Washington.
Did you know that all along, and that's why you joined?
I joined when the captain of this unit came to do a talk at the Sheldon Family Association in Windsor, and then I went online. I thought it was a fish story. It sounded too good to be true. That there's no way my ancestor could have been who that was. And, I did my online research, and it was all real.
So is this his actual uniform that you have?
This would have been a period-correct uniform for a trooper in 1776. You'll read in the paper we were outfitted by the French, we were trained by the French, and we were paid by the French. But people didn't think they were part of us in 1776. Just through the back door. Webb, who was an ambassador to France, and then of course Ben Franklin was over there working his magic with King Louis. So that's how we got what we got. French Charleville. So the little Charleville name is right on here because it comes from the foundry in France, Charleville.
1762 to 1763 model.
Okay. So
this is since we're a cavalry unit, we're mounted. This would have been a musket, except they were either came over as carbines or they shortened them up because when in the back of the horse, you can't mount the gun. You hit the horse in the back of the head, and you can reach the end of the barrel.
Oh, okay.
So it makes us very unique and different because back then, when we were on a horseback, we had 5 weapons.
And in order so that we would not drop our guns, they came up with this idea. This is something that's not under standard Charleville. This is so that I can use this device, which is called a carbine sling. Now, the carbine sling is simply like this. If I'm on horseback, and if I get knocked out of my hands, guess what? I can't drop my weapon.
Great.
Someone hits me, I can get mad at him and say, all right, fine, pal. Let's get nuts. Let's do this.
There's some out there you can get that are technically new old guns.
Okay.
This one happens to be about a 1940 or 1945 reproduction, which was made by Navy Arms in New Jersey. I got it used, so you can find them on online.
Oh, you can.
The prices of them have gone up dramatically in the last 5 years. Around the bicentennial, there was a lot of them. A lot of places were producing them. Then they dropped off because the American bicentennial was over. So a lot of these now, people are getting into the retirement age, are getting rid of them. But the prices now, the supply and demand is up, supply is down. So now these guns are probably $800 to $1,000. And when I got this one, it was $450 6 years ago. And this, you'll see. I'll clip this gun up. This is actually a 1781 original saber. So it's not a reproduction. This sold on eBay for $375, and the reproduction 21st century version sold for $285, so I thought it was worth the difference. This now sells for, you're lucky if you find one of these for $1,000. That's the hobby, so to speak, although we are a reactivated unit. So we actually get activated by the governor of the state of Connecticut.